Welcome, Benjamin, to Metallarium Pages. It is a great pleasure to talk with you about the Locus Noir, this upcoming album, Shadow Sun, and more things related to the metal war in general. So we are starting by asking, well, how are you doing today, and how is the band during the last couple of years? Because this is a new band.
Yes, exactly. So first, I'm doing fine, thank you. Very busy actually with the promotion of Shadow Sun, obviously. I mean, since the album is, coming up, at the end of the month, and we have also a single tomorrow that will be released tomorrow, the second single of the album, Hollow.
Mhm.
Yes, so it's a new band. So people might know I'm also the frontman of Cybrid, which is a cyber metal band from Switzerland. And I've been mostly known to dabble in, let's say, metal industrial in the past. And I'm coming back with this new project, which is actually something that is very dear to me. It's a project, you know, that represent all my, let's say, influence from my teenage year. I always wanted to create a band inspired by gothic rock, dark wave, post-punk music. Also, obviously, mixing it with the heaviness of guitars from metal. But it's a new project that is very important to me. That it really reflects the way to go back to my formative year, if I may say.
Okay. Well, that is true because after your significant history with the industrial sounds, electronic sounds with Cybrid, so what was the specific spark or moment of introspection that led you to embrace the more melodic and crepuscular world of, Locus Noir?
Well, it was a very simple event. I mean, actually, it was something that was already in the making. I mean, I've been thinking for like 3, 4 years to go back to this kind of music I was listening to, and I got interest again in the gothic subculture in a way I would say. And I was already trying to, write songs in different genres. Some were more industrial, some more dark wave, but Jan wasn't totally satisfied. And what happened? It's a very specific moment when I was in studio with Drop. We were, working on the re-edition of Cybrid material, because we made some re-edition of Cybrid albums, the past year. But we were like working in the studio, and he made me listen to a band, and he was just like, okay, listen to this band. It's like gothic metal. You will like it. And I've listened to this band and we're just like, no, that's not gothic metal. That's sad metal, but it's not gothic. So I told Rob, give me a week. I'm gonna go back to my place, write a gothic metal song, and I'll send it to you. And that's actually how the project started. Then, based on that, I mean, as I said, it's a kind of music I grew up with. I was more metal. I mean, I was more in the post-punk scene before, being a metalhead. I started listening to metal. I mean, actually, when a friend of mine handled me Bloody Kisses by Typo Negative back in the days. So it was in 1995, if I recall. And you see, so I was mostly listening to gothic rock and post-punk before. And for me, so I had the desire to go back to this music, after, because I mean, I'm not a big fan of, I mean, to each its own, but I don't really like the way the metal music has become these days. For me, it's not exactly what I like. It's not enough, let's say there is something missing or something missing. So I wanted to go back to this kind of music, and let's say the mix of this feeling and the event with Drop, making me listen to a band and me being like, no, it's not gothic music. It's the starting point actually. And after that, like writing the album was kind of, it was very easy actually. It was something that, just came, I mean, out of myself very, very, very easily. It just started as a spark, and then now I guess it's a project that's going to be, I mean, to become as important to me as Cybrid in a way. It's a way to explore different aspects of my musical personality in a way.
Okay. So you initially conceived this as a solo project, but have since transitioning into a full-fledged band. So how has this evolution changed the sonic landscape of the upcoming album, of this album, Shadow Sun?
Well, I mean, it became more organic, obviously. When I started writing the song, there was this kind of, let's say, a very post-punk machine aspect, still in the drums and so on. And the more I was writing the song, the more I was working on them, the more I felt like, okay, I will need people, I will need bodies to animate this music, to make it become something alive, something that takes form. So it was if you want, a very natural process in a way that I started writing it all by myself, because let's say I'm still the main, the main artistic driving force behind the music itself. And but for me, really quickly, the music, became, I mean, very organic and very rock in a way. And I really felt that I would like to have it recorded with musicians, a lot of musicians. I mean, like almost analogic way in a way, an analog way of recording, and also that I would want to bring it on stage. So the process was really easy, and the thing is, it's still a bit of a band in the making in a way, because I mean, I have like the core musician, which are Alès at the bass, and the drummer Ben Marmier, but I'm still, on the process of selecting the right guitar player, because the guitars has been recorded by Drop from Cybrid and Samael on the album, and I want to have the right person after for the live shows. But as I say, it's just the music itself. It calls for musicians. It calls for a way of.
Great. So now you describe the project as I read a lot. I read a lot for experience for this new album, and you describe the project as a Frankenstein monster of a teenage influence. So how do you balance being a sincere tribute to the gothic subculture without falling into the genre's will-worn cliches?
Exactly. I mean, that's a very good question, because even myself from the start, I really, it's a question that I'm still, asking it myself all the time, making sure that I don't fall in cliche. My idea was I didn't want it to sound like a specific band or sound exactly like a copy of Typo Negative or a copy of Paradise Lost or a copy of Sister of Mercy or a copy of any other band like Fields of the Nephilim. I really wanted from the start to not recreate the music from these eras, being the 80s or the 90s, but take the grammar, the musical grammar of these times, because I think it's still relevant to me. It's something that I feel, I really love the expression, the sounds it conveys, the kind of both liturgic and, profane kind of music. And my idea was just like, okay, from there, I'm starting from there, but I want to transport that in the with my experience and with the current, let's say, zeitgeist and the way we produce music nowadays, the way the music sound actually, and really it was like not trying to recreate the same music, but say, okay, it's a starting point. Let's say, I mean, if this music was still relevant today, how would it sound to be modern? And that was my idea. So really, like, it's an homage, of course. I mean, it's not an homage. I take, what I think it's timeless in this kind of music, and I try to reinterpret it and create my own sound and my own universe based on that. And also, I think the way, I find to kind of not fall into the, let's say, the imitation or the parody, is to be very sincere about it. It's a very sincere music. I have no, I'm all in a way that is very important. It's something there is no irony in what I do. And also it was really to, at the same time, be respectful of the what this kind of music can represent. What is the Gothic subculture? What are the ideas behind it? What are the motives of the people that like this scene as well? So really, and also for me, it was also the idea of, because I spoke about Bloody Kisses from Typo Negative because it's a band. This album was a bridge for me between the Gothic and the metal. And that's what I wanted to do again, an album that is a bridge and that is more like welcoming and say, come as you are, and not like trying to please a specific crowd or a specific subgenre. It's really like trying to make it becoming more, again, something that is for a lot of people and not a small group of very precise people.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Well, you are right on this one. When Tie of Negative appears on the world, many people like him, a lot of Finland people say that it was an influence for the music now.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous influence for the people. Now, well, in other kind of topics, so the title of suggest in this one, the shadow zone, suggests a duality. Does it refer to a specific emotional state, or perhaps the grim clarity, the arrives with dawn after the nine exist?
Well, it's a mix of different concepts, but there is the duality. Yes, it's really the center of the album, the concept of dualities. Many songs are, I mean, representing dualities between like life and decay, life. I mean, love, desire, solitude, and so on. And if you want the shadow sun, it's like it's a way to say, I mean, the light and the shadows, they are not opposite. They actually, there is a place where they meet and they intertwine all the time. It's a way to say, like, you don't need to, it was for me a way to say, I can live with my contradictions. I can live with my dualities. And it's the idea of the shadow sun is that it's a place where you don't have to make a choice. It's a liminal space where you can be as you are without having to say, okay, I'm this, but I'm not that. I mean, you can be both. And also for me, it was a kind of a banner in a way that say the shadow sun is kind of a banner under which people that lives, I mean, not like in the norms and the totally in the, let's say, the norms of the world and the place where they can meet and be as they are, because that's for me that's what is the gothic subculture in a way. So really it's all about these dualities. It's about yeah, it's not a shadow. It's, I mean, it's not the darkness that can be dangerous. It's darkness that can give clarity, and in a way, a light that doesn't serve. It's always this kind of, like reversion of concepts all the time. But really, the shadow sun is that it's like the mix of the light and the shadow without having to choose, and also this banner for people that don't feel like they want to follow the norms.
Okay. Other thing that I've been reading a lot is about the fans are used to more set or use more aggressive death wave in your way to sing. So on this record, you adopted a more melodic baritone register. So what is challenge to step? So in this one, so was it a challenge to step into the spectral vocal presence? Because I remember when you sing in Cybrid also.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I thought it would be a challenge. I mean, it would be challenging because yeah, my voice in cyber it's more about screaming, it's all the extreme techniques and usually the vocals are kind of higher, especially back in the days in the first albums. Now the thing is actually my natural voice is more closer to baritone than anything else. That's my natural voice. And so when I started this project, I also had this idea that I was very adamant on, being very, I mean, honest with my voice as well, and say, okay, I'm just gonna sing clean vocals, and I'm gonna try to adopt the voice that, feel the more natural and the more comfortable. Why? Because I wanted to be able to when I speak, for example, of theatrality, the theatrics of vocals, it's not like being grandiloquent. It's about, being able to sing in a way that the technique disappear, and just the performance takes the place. And for me, the vocals you hear, it's my most natural voice, and actually I can go very low by nature. And for me, it was very like the moment this album where I rediscover this natural voice of mine, and I was able, in a way, to perform in, I mean, with the knees that I've never had before. So really, for me, that was the. I knew that this was my natural voice, but it took me a couple of demos to go there. But actually, the more we were, recording the demos with Drop at the beginning of the process, the more it was just like, okay, that's your natural voice. We are going to do only clean vocal. That's great. And I'm super happy about the result because it's the first time in my life I'm like, let's say 100% happy with the sound of my voice and the performance and the way it sounds and the delivery. It never feel forced. It feels like, I'm happy to be here singing this kind of vocals.
Okay, okay. 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 So, also you collaborate with Ben Christo of the Sisters of Mercy. Well, great influence for a lot for the Gothic scene, especially on the single Century Youth. So, how did the partnership come about, and what did he bring to the tracks for 90s rock, or well, this one 80s rock, because he's
Mhm.
like the first
Yeah.
wave for the if the first wave for the Gothic scene.
hmm Yeah, well, first, I mean, Ben, Christo, and I, we have known each other for actually many years. We've met first back in the days in the early mid 2000, yeah, I mean, it was probably 2005, if I recall. It was the first European tour of Cybrid, and we were on the same tour. It was, fitting for a band as a session guitar player, and we met at that time. And we became friends like almost instantly, and we kind of spent the whole tour hanging out together. And after that, obviously, we have stayed in touch, I mean, quite regularly. And we always wanted to make some music together at some point, but we never found the right, let's say, the right vehicle for that. And also, the stars never really aligned. And but when I started this project, I sent him songs, demo tracks, and he was like, "Okay, I'm totally in. I want to participate. I want to do something. Let's see what we can do." And when I finished composing, and also I was already in the process of recording in the studio, I knew that Cemetery Youth, the song he played on, would be the single track, I mean, the first single track. And I felt like, okay, that's the track where he has to appear. So I sent him the track and told him, you do whatever you want. Do vocals, do guitars, and send me what you have. So he came up with like a lot of backing vocals because sometimes there is three voices at the same time. Mine, the voice of Céline Barth, which is the female singer that is appearing on the album, and his vocals as well. Sometimes that mixed together, it has this kind of almost like church-like quality at the end with all the voices intertwined. But really, for me, what he made the track really shine with the lead guitars he created for the chorus of the track. And I recall when we received the guitars drop, the producer and I were just like, okay, that's a $1 million lead guitar. I mean, you can't create something better than that. So really, for me, what he brought is just like there was this track that was already a very good track, and I think he just increased the overall quality and make even more like I would say like in a way a bit radio friendly, just the touch you need to make it more like easier to listen than some of the other tracks. So yeah, I mean his for me his work on this track was of stellar quality, and I really hope we'll be able to do some more stuff in the future.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. So other things that you spoke in the previous or the previous comments or interviews, so you emphasize the importance of working with a team that shares your culture affinity. So for this one, so what makes List Enabled Records the right home for this specific brand of gothic metal?
Well, first of all, the owner of Listener Record is like me a big fan of Typo Negative, so we have that in common. And well, I have been, I've worked with them for years. I mean, through Cybrid, and I know they have like, let's say, um, a work ethic that I really love. It's if they sign you, it's a kind of label. If they sign you, it's that because they like your music, they love your music, and they want to help you, move forward, especially when you make this kind of music within, a kind of niche. Now, also for me, it was also cultural because I'm my nationality. I'm French. Even though I'm living in Switzerland, I live in Switzerland. I'm French by nationality. And in a way, well, because I work in the past with, American musician, American labels or labels from other places, and I always felt sometimes there was some things that were lost in translation. Especially the problem is when you write music and you want to release some music, it's so important to it's so emotionally important that you need to have to speak with someone that you are on the same page 100%. So for me, it was. The work ethic, the let's say also the let's say the I would say the yeah the language. There was no language barrier for me. It was like if I have to do something this important, I want to work with people with the same culture as I was in a very good working culture ethic. Um, and the proximity of language, and also the same passion, the feeling that they share the same the same appreciation for the music. It's very important for me. I wouldn't want to be on the label where you feel you can't speak with anybody, and you feel like you're just like a number in a catalog. And that's really not it's not the way I want to work on this kind of music. So for me, yes, it was really natural to contact them, and actually, I was very happy when they decided that we would work together. And yeah, really. And I like the way I like the way we work. I mean, it's very back and forth. I have a lot of agency on my own on the way I do the music, but they have a lot of advices on what I can do. They help me, in many aspects. So yeah, it's a great label. I mean, for me, it is.
Mm. Okay, okay, okay. I understand. I understand. So now talking about more a little about the promotion for this new album. So what kind of promotion do you have for this one? Perhaps you will embark some tours, present more video, or perhaps you're already working in a second album. Who knows? There is a lot. Who knows exactly? So what kind of plans do you have for the Locus Noir and this Shadow Sun?
I mean, all you said actually. Oh, so okay. So now we are in the middle of the promotion itself. So I have interviews, and we're doing the I would say we're doing the work, and I like the selection they make of magazines and interviewers. It's really pinpointed for me the right scene and the right people. So the idea right now is to promote the album until the release, and obviously after I have tomorrow, as I said, I have a new single coming out and a lyrics video that will go together. There will be the release of the album, then another lyrics video for Cemetery Oath. I love lyrics video. It's for me, it's a better, it's more efficient way to promote a track than a pure video clip that would be cost me a lot of money and takes so much time to do. And so that's not the kind of thing I would envision right now. No, obviously, I'm working on bringing the band on stage. That's more difficult because Locus Noir is a new band. I mean, and as you might know, I would say the music is very saturated. There is so much band touring at the same time. For example, I'm not. I mean, for example, all the slots on festivals are already like attributed. So I guess the next months will be more like creating the opportunity for live shows. I have certain ideas. I'm working with a booker. He already has some specific things he's working on and discussing with venues. So really, it's gonna be that the next year is going to be okay. The album is out. We keep promoting it, but we are going to let's say start the engines on the live performances, because I mean it will be supported by the release of the album, and obviously the press reactions and so on. And I'm also anyway writing new materials because I'm writing all the time. I mean it's a project that is so I mean that I have a lot of, let's say, inspiration, so I'm writing all the time. It's
Mhm.
too early to say where I will go with the next album, obviously, if there is not one. But it's, as I say, it's an ongoing thing, and I won't gonna stop. Actually, I have great ambition for it. I want it to become um, perhaps not the biggest band in the world, obviously, but
Mhm.
something that a band that people recognize and say, oh, they are playing, let's go sing them. So being able to have this whole endeavor because something that is viable and they can tour with it, keep on making albums with it, and making people happy, even if it's gothic music. So obviously they will be a bit depressed, hopefully, I hope. But that's yeah, I have great ambition about it, and it's something I'm working on it all the time. But really, yes, it's really right now for me the focus is releasing the album, and then um, working on making the band becoming a touring band.
Hmm. Okay, okay. So you've cited Peter Steele as a key influence on your new vocal style. So how do you manage to capture the funeral weight, unbeaten irony or tide of negative without losing your own Swiss vocal identity?
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you want, as I said earlier in the interview, I have very few irony when I do this band. Typo negative and I love Peter Steele for that. I mean, rest in peace, Peter. He had this kind of humor that I mean you should never try to imitate. No, no, my idea is very like I'm more interested in esotericism and liturgical aspect of things and you know everything that is kind of you know linked to magic and psychology. So for me, the idea to not lose the identity was like, okay, I won't gonna try to imitate. I mean, I take some influence, obviously, but I will never try to imitate the tone or the lyrics of Typo Negative. I write my own things about myself. The only thing that really influenced me in the way that Peter Steele was writing, for example, his lyrics, in addition to his vocals, he was very good at taking very mundane subjects and turn them in something very, very, you know, gothic, dark, romantic. There is always this story about the song Bloody Kisses that he actually wrote about his cat. And I love this idea, and that's something that influenced me. And when I started writing, for example, lyrics for Locus Noir, I was just like, okay, what can I speak about? I mean, one of the topics I often use is events I lived in Gothic parties, and I've tried to turn them in something that are, you know, that sounds super esoteric, which are actually very mundane. So that would be the only influence. But for the rest, I've really tried from day one to find um, my own subject matter, the things that interest me. I really don't want to try to pillage, you know, the heritage of some other musician because that's not the goal. I mean, even if I would say that sometimes I even told myself, I mean, I should have even avoided saying that I was influenced by Peter Steele or whatever. But you know, you always have to explain people what you do. But at the end of the day, yes, really, my idea is like I'm standing on the shoulder of giants, and but for me, it's there are guides, and they should not be imitated.
Mm. Okay, okay. Okay, so we are very close to this interview, Benjamin. And also, there is another thing that you said. Well, we are a little far away from the Locus Noir and the Shadow Sun. And you spoke one thing that you are not happy or you are not agree how the metal scene turns out nowadays. So that's because it's very different now since you started. I remember, and one thing that's very curious for me, because when Cyber appears in the world, the sound that brought Cybrid at that moment, it was completely like new, completely new, industrial, like progressive, degen, well, a lot of stuff in your all your albums. But now there's a curious thing because I think you influence the mostly old bands nowadays, like Textures did in the past, like you
Mhm.
did in the past. But for example, when you speak with the hybrid with some people, I spoke with in Europe people, they just know, but they prefer electric cowboy. But when you hear electric cowboy, it's like drained from you. You started this electronic industrial in the beginnings of 2000. So that's the question. How do you like not happy with the actual scene when you have to do a lot of influence from your music since the beginning?
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's part of, I mean, we are responsible for it as well. No, it's just like, it's not that I'm not happy. It's not the thing. It's more like there is a kind of rush, I mean, which I understand, but I mean, a rush toward trying to be, how to say that, becoming more accepted, you know. Okay, let's make metal more, you know, mainstream, it's more accepted. Let's make it, you know, packed. You know, people want to fit in if a way. When we started Cybrid, you know, my idea was not to fit in. It's like I wanted to make something dangerous. I always want to make music. It doesn't have to be extreme to be dangerous. What I mean is, for me, music, the important aspect is like to have you have to scare a bit people because if you are doing an alternative music, you're just like, okay, that's the norms. I don't want to follow the norm, so I want to do something different. And sometimes I feel that the music, I mean the environment, you know, it's not only metal. The alternative world has become a place where people have become a bit scared of experimenting, and they are more about like, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to make a career. I want to have a band that is known. I want this, I want that, I want this. And sometimes I feel the music's kind of, it's a bit, you know, sidetracked. But that's because I have this, you know, let's say, the sensibility of, if you do music, it has to be a bit dangerous, and you have to kind of kick the hornet nest. And I feel like right now, perhaps the alternative music is a bit too safe. Metal sometimes feels safe to me, and but it's okay. I understand what people want, and I'm totally okay with that. But my feeling, for example, if we take an example of Cybrid, as you might know, we have just kind of reactivated the band recently, and we are writing materials. As for now, we are just a for now, we will still only be a studio band, so there will be no live shows, but we are writing materials. We will be surely release music. And when we reactivated it, I recall I told Rob, I said, okay, I'm okay with the idea, but I want to make something that sounds, threatening. We have to go back to be like a bit scary, not just like trying to live on what we've created before. So yeah, it's just for me, it's just I have this kind of, let's say, this this need as a musician to try to make things differently and exactly sometimes even the opposite of what the rest of the people do. As I said, Locus Noir is born also from that idea. I mean, who does an album like that nowadays? Nobody would dare. And I was just like, yeah, but fuck it, I will. You see what I mean? So it's really about, I'm a bit of a contrarian, that's all. So
Okay. Okay.
I don't
Okay.
want to
So
fit. I don't want to fit, and sometimes I feel like people in alternative scene they want to fit too much these days. Sometimes.
okay. 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 So one of the last questions for this interview, Benjamin. So we are seeing a massive resurgence of the post-punk or the dark wave globally, and also the gothic music. So why do you think the modern audiences are returning to these shadowy sounds right now? Is it a reaction to the digital brightness of the modern life?
Yeah, I think so. And also as I saw, because I spoke also with younger generation, the gothic subculture, the post-punk scene has a very specific inclusive dimension. It's very like, as I say, come as you are. If you want to dress yourself in a weird way, go for it. And also, I guess there is perhaps some kind of slowness. It's not as fast. It's not, as you say, it's not as bright. It's kind of going back to something that is more like almost almost like a mass. For example, if you go to a goth party, gothic music is kind of slow. It's kind of a different atmosphere. And I think, especially the young generation that has been, bombarded with, like flashy stuff all around. I guess this kind of aesthetic, this kind of more like inward orientation of things, and more like almost like yeah, I totally see why when you have this kind of saturation, when you saturate it by, and that's the same move I did. I mean, I went also back to this kind of music. I mean, because I felt saturated by the world. There was too much going on, too much all the time, noise, speed, everything all the time, and too much. I mean, if you watch TV, if you watch a movie, it's like bright CGI color all the time. And for me, going back to like monochromatic things, more, let's say, liturgical, slower kind of sound, more like sometimes even more bare bones, less arrangement, less super, I mean, not super production as we hear. It was a way to also to find myself again. So I will understand also the young generation, as I see, because I understand they also come back to or they discover post-punk music and gothic subculture. I understand why they go there because it's less threatening. It's less about, it's less performative. You don't have to perform in this kind of environment. And the music itself, it offers itself as it is.
Okay, okay. Well, Benjamin, we arrived at the sad moment of this interview. Thank you very much for your time. It was a tremendous pleasure. Love Cybrid since the beginning. One song I remember all the time. Gottes and Doomsday Party, sorry, Doomsday
Yeah.
Party is tremendous, tremendous song for that album, and for the Pulse of Awakening. So great album. So and perhaps congratulations on this first album for the Locus Noir, and perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metallica followers.
So thank you very much. Thank you for your time.